Namaste. So it's 3:30 in the morning. I often wake up at this time. Actually, this morning I woke up at 2. The moon was bright and very cool, like 16 degrees centigrade. What's that? About 63 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. That's really cold here, unusually cold. Anyway, a nice, cool, refreshing morning. And I was thinking about vortex theory, because vortex theory really explains so much. Well, like everything. So, vortex is a circular movement of energy. And that circular movement, that spiral movement, which you see in so many forms in this world, and especially in the movement of energy, is what creates the illusion of mass, the illusion of time, and so many other things. So let's run it down from the start. You have Shiva. And Shiva is in the state of Shivam, which means Brahman, the objectless, pure awareness. So the Upanishads describe that he thought, I am one, let me become many. So that's the original desire, kama. Kama means desire. The original desire is Shiva saying, let me become many. So their Shakti came into existence. She was the first. So what is this? This is the primal, fundamental duality. Shiva-Shakti. The power and the powerful. The energy and the energetic. So these are like yin and yang. They circle around each other, like that. And of course, that's a vortex, right? That vortex creates the original mass, the Big Bang, or whatever you want to call it. Actually, the Big Bang is still going on. Imagine a fireworks blowing up. Right? But it doesn't just blow up and stop. It just keeps blowing up. Well, that's the actual Big Bang. The Big Bang is going on continuously. And what is it? You take a neutron, and you take one electron out of it, and then it becomes a proton. A positive charge and a negative charge. And then those two begin to spin madly around each other at some frequency in the terahertz. And what do you have? A hydrogen atom. So this dark matter that scientists talk about is nothing but neutrons. Neutrons are practically indistinguishable from empty space, unless they acquire some energy. But at close to absolute zero, out there in empty space, it's dark matter, baby. So somehow or other, these neutrons dissociate into a proton and an electron. And they form hydrogen atoms. And they also form hydrogen ions with free electrons. And what happens to these? They make these massive flows of electrical current through space called Birkeland currents. You can look it up, Birkeland currents. By the way, I was going to be an astrophysicist. I got a scholarship to MIT, but they wanted me to work on bombs, so I didn't take it. Anyway, astrophysics is still very high on my list. So anyway, you have all these neutrons that become hydrogen atoms, And then you have all these ions and free electrons moving through space. And because you have a big cloud of protons and a big cloud of free electrons, guess what happens? They start to move in a circle around each other like a big hydrogen atom. And eventually they collapse gravitationally and start to form a galaxy. And within the galaxy, these clouds of gas, also the hydrogen atoms, also fuse together by means of gravity, creating stars. And what are stars? Stars are animals. They're beings made of gas that take light elements, hydrogen and helium, and forge them into heavy elements. Oxygen, neon, xenon, iron, all the way up to uranium. And then they explode. All the heavy elements go all over the place in the form of dust. And then new stars form. And now those stars have not only gas but also dust to play with. And so what do? They form planets. And on these planets, a very curious thing happens. A planet, of course, is also a vortex of dust that gravitationally forms into a sphere, or spheroid, actually. And then on these things, the little molecules and stuff, which are, of course, vortexes of atoms, right? They start to form chains of vortexes, like DNA. And eventually they figure out how to put these vortexes together into a creature. All of this is going on under divine guidance, infinite intelligence. The hand of God is everywhere. Or maybe I should say the hand of Goddess, because she is the energy. He is the energetic and the will behind it all. But she is the one who actually carries out the creation. So this energy is in each and every one of us. The consciousness, Shivam, and the goddess in the Muladhara, the root chakra. And this root chakra energy expresses itself first as sex, then as movement and energy, physical energy. And then, if it can break through the Brahma Granthi by reaching a certain pitch of energy, then we have a higher manifestation. The energy reaches the heart. The heart opens and awakens, and bhakti is possible. And when bhakti reaches its highest level, then the Vishnu Granthi in the throat opens, and the energy rises to the Anāhata-cakra. Meditation becomes possible. Raja Yoga. And when Raja Yoga reaches its ripeness, its fullness, then the energy rises to the Sahasrara-chakra. Shiva and Shakti are united again, and the whole game comes to an end. That's self-realization. Okay? So the whole thing ties in together. Even, I'll tell you what, it's so integrated. This view of reality according to Shakti, according to Sri Vidya, is so integrated. Even the musical scale that is used for the Lalita Sahasranam, the 1,000 names of the goddess, is a picture of this structure of 7 chakras and 3 granthis. See? In a raga scale, the half steps signify the granthis. So in the scale that's used for the Lalita Sahasranam, there are actually 4 half steps. The one is at the very bottom. Let me illustrate here. Where's Pilu? Well, we'll use Purvi, close enough. Sa, re. That's the first half step. Re, ga, ma. That's the second half step. Ma, pa, dha. That's the third half step. Dha, ni, sa. You see? Each note, each svara in the scale represents one of the chakras, and the half steps represent the granthis. So the scale that's used for chanting the name of the goddess has exactly the same structure, including the granthis, as the chakra system described in that Sahasranam. I think that's extremely cool. So we've been going over this vortex theory for some time. You can look back in the earlier videos, and there are, I think there's one in the Golden Flower series about vortex theory, and there's another one way earlier on in the Buddhist one of the Buddhist series, I think in the Nibbana series, about vortex theory, because it's given by the Buddha, right? Now, you won't find this in any book. You know, this is something you have to observe in life. It took me one hint from the Buddha about whirlpools, about how saṁsāra is like a whirlpool. A whirlpool will suck you down into it. And what is a whirlpool? It's a vortex. And then one morning at the beach, I was surfing, body surfing on the waves. And I realized, holy cow, this wave is a vortex. That's why it's so powerful. Much more powerful than the wave in the open water before it hits the breakers. So, just from those two things, I was able to put the whole thing together with my knowledge of physics and whatever. This is what's going on. And it's practical. It can be a guide for practice. How these shocks, these half steps, these granthis or knots or blocks or gates or whatever you want to call them, are overcome by allowing the energy to pool and become more and more intense until it's strong enough to go through the block. So this is the Tantra practice. The Tantra practice involves reaching higher and higher levels of energy. Sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa. Then you go to the next level. The next octave. This is all described by Gurdjieff. Ouspensky wrote about Gurdjieff in Search for the Miraculous, and then Gurdjieff himself wrote a wonderful, wonderful book called Tales to Beelzebub's Grandson. And it is literally Beelzebub telling his grandson all about Earth. It's hysterical. It's a hoot. But it also contains tremendous esoteric knowledge. But you have to do some digging. You have to ferret out the truth for yourself. You have to try the practices. You have to meditate on this stuff for years. Make it your full-time engagement. After I had my enlightenment experience in 1984, I took like 3 years. And I just bummed around the islands of the South Pacific. And I had many amazing spiritual experiences. I don't want to get into all those stories now, but I took the time to understand the meaning of what happened to me. And because of that, now I'm able to tell you, to explain to you, the system behind the creation. You have to know how the world is structured in order to get released from it. It's just like if you get caught in a trap, like a hunter's trap or something like that. If you know how it's made and you have a basic knowledge of mechanics and stuff like that, you can get yourself out of it. But if you don't know, like the poor animals that get caught in a trap, they can't get out because they don't know. So it's essential to have a knowledge of the structure of the universe, how the trap is made, how this whole thing is structured. And then you can tease it all apart and get out of it and actually see the structure very clearly with your intelligence. That's what this path is all about. You know, the third shloka of the Saundarya Lahari gives all-pervading knowledge, and it really does. But you have to do the practice. You have to meditate on that shloka. I made a video of it. You can play the video. Play it again and again. Download it. Play it on your home computer. Play it in the background while you're working. Meditate on it, and it will give you the result. I give all these tools, and people don't use them. What can I do? But what I can do, and what I am doing, is giving you the knowledge so that you can use those tools to free yourself from the trap. So this is self-realization. This is the process of gaining liberation. And it goes very slowly in the beginning. It's an exponential curve, or maybe even a double exponential curve. You have to accrue results slowly, slowly for a long, long time. And then suddenly there's a breakthrough. You take off, you reach the flying speed, and zoom, there you go. So use these tools. Don't just think about it. Thinking about it is the booby prize. Knowledge is the, in school, when they have a game or contest, they don't want the kids to be upset if they don't win. So they give everybody a little prize, right? It's called the booby prize. So knowledge, or even material wealth and stuff like that, is the booby prize. Don't be a booby. Win the game. Get liberation, get realization. Free yourself from the trap and take moksha. Om Tat Sat. Om Harihi Om.